you never heard of. Hey everybody, welcome to the Common Folk Podcast with Ben, Morgan, and Andy.
All right, welcome back to Common Folk
Podcast for the people, by the people.
Ben, you missed it.
What did I miss?
You were on the computer and Andy did a stretch.
Oh yeah, I'm getting ready to go.
Oh, you like it's getting physical?
Yeah, I'm amped up. Yeah.
This one.
I started laughing before we recorded. I was like, is he trying to get his sleeves up or he's like ready to fight?
I pretty much, like, sometimes before football games, like broadcast basketball, like sometimes I get amped up. I'm like doing jumping jacks and stuff. I'm
Really?
like, we got to get after it. Yeah.
Okay. I would think like you would need some AirPods and just to like pump up music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to get in the right mindset, you know,
Okay.
sometimes if you got, two top 5 teams going at it and a huge audience.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, got to get in it. Yeah. Got to get in
We
it.
should start playing some like music, like rocker music
Ooh.
or
Well, I like Eric.
what makes you go? You know, like if you're working out.
That does.
Okay,
that
or
helps.
drinking.
Yeah, there we go.
You know, pump up music. Doesn't it do something for you? I think we've talked about this before off air, Ben.
It's what
Yeah.
makes America great. We talked about that. Our music.
Yeah.
Bruce
That's true. Yeah,
Springsteen,
that's
all those guys.
Or we've talked
Yeah,
about
it's
this
cool.
with our friends, your threshold. What is that? Because Ben has a high one where he doesn't dance.
Mm-hmm.
But I could just jam out to anything and start bebopping.
Okay.
What would get you like your head bobbing? Does it take much?
I do like a lot of different genres, but some of the hits by Metallica, are,
Just
for old school
get you
stuff,
going?
Ooh, yeah,
that,
that's a good one.
that gets you going.
Okay.
They catch a lot of shade, but AC/DC, some of those riffs, just so iconic, they get you kind of head bobbing, And then I like all that classic '90s country stuff.
Yes.
That kind of takes me back to summer times up in Lynch at home.
But is there got to be like rap to get you dancing?
There's one song, a rap song that it gets me a little rowdy. Gets me
what is
riled
it?
up. It's by Pharrell and the Neptunes, and it was before Pharrell was Pharrell.
Mhm.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It's called Lap Dance.
Oh, I think you need to play that.
I don't know about that.
It's got a heavy beat to it, and these are guys just getting after it.
Okay, so it's like club music, like boom.
Yeah.
You're gonna start breaking down.
It's more like
You're gonna start air humping.
like before.
I don't know if we should do that.
Before a college football game, that's the type of music you'd want to
Oh.
listen. That's what you would want your middle linebacker to be listening to before kickoff.
Okay.
It's a very aggressive song. So
So-
like that's where we get.
Is this it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna get flagged on YouTube for this probably.
We get flagged all the time.
I've never heard this.
Very obscure
Okay.
song. But that's the Neptunes. Him and the Neptunes. That's kind of how they got their start, building those riffs like that and all those different
Is it?
beats. Yeah, those backbeats.
Ben, do you have a song? Because you're Mr. Chill.
No, I don't have a song.
There's not a song that would get you on the dance floor.
No.
Okay. I would say
when
that
we were
would be-
younger, like Andy talked about Metallica, like in high school, in the weight room in high school.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what the weight coach always played. So then that would get us.
classic.
That would get us going. Like that was
Pumping
when,
some iron.
when we were just freaking getting after it.
Okay. Yeah.
I keep going back to football references, but there's only been one time that I'll show up to a broadcast and they'll play music while everyone's out there stretching out and doing calisthenics and stuff. Every single PA announcer plays an AC/DC song. There's only been once that, because now I listen for it.
Yep.
There's only been one time that I didn't hear an AC/DC song
Okay.
in the pregame warm-ups. So
Because it just gets people going.
Yeah, I guess
like
so.
it.
I guess so.
Yeah, those.
I
are
mean, Andy's
definitely
ready to
popular.
go. What's this topic? Come on. Play some.
Andy's like physicality right here is a good transition into this topic.
Exactly.
It is.
Before we start, though, I was thinking about this week, and I don't know why we've never done this, but obviously everyone knows we run farmfocus.com, stockandrod.com. Why do we not have a common folk discount on that website?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because that's what we're doing.
It's almost like it's three standalone things, and it shouldn't be. They should work together.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Right. So, as of today,
Ooh.
with the code Common Folk, and I'm literally keying it in here as we speak because
All one word?
yeah, all one word. I'll set it up both ways, but
Okay.
all one word would be best.
Okay.
20% off anything on the website as far as merchandise.
Ooh.
So if you listen,
Well, you'll
Then you
hear
put it
this.
in.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
then you go there at checkout, type in that code Common Folk, 20% off of anything, shirts, hats, all the gear,
Is that anybody's gear or just Stock and Rod and
anybody's and everybody's.
Oh.
So just so that you know,
There we go.
since you run Chasing the Dream, you are currently getting signed up for covering half of that discount.
Oh, I like that. Oh, what? Hold on.
So yeah, all the brands on the site.
All right.
20% off.
for
We'll-
limited time here.
Yeah, we'll run this for a month or two and see if we get any traction with it.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't see why we don't. You know.
Yeah, I think we should come out with some new fishing merch and stuff like that
Yeah,
for Chasing the
absolutely.
Dream. So that would
Absolutely.
work right along with that.
Okay.
All right.
So that's set up.
Nice.
That'll be ready. So yeah, on to today's topic. I have a list of topics in my phone, like, and it's usually when I'm driving around, like something will come to mind, and
Yeah.
I'll put something in there.
Yep.
If you can't tell, he's a little bit random. He just made a coupon code right now.
Spontaneous.
So yes,
It's spontaneous.
Spontaneous.
I wouldn't
So-
call it random.
Okay.
It's more like organized chaos.
Yes,
There you go.
that's
Yeah.
better. You
'Cause
are
it-
very organized.
Well,
chaos.
I'm not very organized, but I am very chaotic, and then I try
And
to
then he's-
put everything,
Put it in its box. Or
I bring the organization.
which is the reason why I was working on the coupon code right now during the podcast.
just do it.
Yeah, because you
Thought of
have
it,
to
do
do
it.
it when you do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, so one of the topics that I had on here was this whole concept. I keep hearing more and more about this whole toxic masculinity,
Ooh.
and it's a hot button for me because it really pisses me off, and we'll get into it. But furthermore, like the roles of males and females, the the defined roles, the expected roles, but then also the real roles, alpha and beta, those words, what do those words mean?
What do they mean now?
How are people using them? Yeah, all this kind of stuff. So I wanted to chat a little bit about that. I thought, from the common folk perspective, obviously Andy and I, can bring the male perspective. Morgan can bring the female perspective. Your own household, how you grew up, whatever, and what is this really about?
Let's do it.
That's where my head's at.
Okay.
So where you want to start?
Well, I just want to start with talking about what we're being told.
Yeah. Was
So-
there a video or
Well, there's
what?
been a lot of articles, like in the New York Times, the Post, talking about how detrimental toxic masculinity is to modern day society. I mean,
Okay.
you can just type it in Google, and a whole bunch of articles will pop up.
So just in a Google search, I type in here, what is toxic? And I don't have anything other words.
What does it pull?
The second one is masculinity.
There you go.
Boom.
So it's definitely a hugely searched term.
Manly men are
But
bad.
when did this start? You know how we talk about things that words. Is this been around for
Yes.
a while?
I was thinking about this when you brought this up, Ben. It's like a lot of these things. It's been a slow burn for a very, very long time, and now it's
Okay.
finally bubbled over. For every action, there's a reaction,
Mm-hmm.
And for too long, the silent majority is like, oh, yeah, you know what? Guys could be a little nicer. Guys should probably open more doors, blah, 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 But now it's at this point where articles are coming out saying, men need to sit in the back seat and this type of stuff. And men shouldn't pick up the checks at the diner, because
Please.
that's a microaggression. Making up words like microaggression, get out of here. And that's why you're seeing things like the anti side really kind of get up and like get Ben fired up here, so much so he wants to talk about it a little
Yeah.
bit here.
It's in these Google searches are just, when you read them, they're funny. Like where some of this shit comes from. The first thing that comes up on Wikipedia, it says toxic masculinity. Toxic masculine traits are characteristic of the unspoken code of behavior among incarcerated men.
Whoa.
What?
Incarcerated men?
now
So now we're
Dudes in jail? Like, so toxic masculinity is the trait defined by how
Dudes in
dudes
jail?
act in jail?
So that's what I am. 'Cause I kind of wear that. I wear that. It was
you
a
need
badge
to go,
of honor.
You
know,
need to go to jail.
I'm very toxic and I'm very masculine. But there's little signs where I want to get back to that slow burn. A lot of cartoons, like old ones, like old Disney movies, the father figure is always kind of big, brash, grumpy, and a little mean.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
And
Yeah,
then
you're right.
the
yeah.
mom is that caring figure that comes in and kind of saves the day, helps the kids out. But the dad, he's toxic. You know what I mean? Like he just comes in, wrecks the store, everyone's crying, then he runs out, gets out of the room. And that's some dads are like, I'm like that at times, but that doesn't tell the whole picture. My youngest daughter is into Paw Patrol. In the latest movie, the two big bouncers that take care of Mayor Humdinger, and there's a lot of stereotypes in this. They're big. There's these two big muscle-bound meatheads, and there's one part where they go, I'm the alpha. No, I'm the alpha. I'm the alpha. And then they start fighting, and it just shows how big, dumb, and stupid men are. And meanwhile, the female dog was so clever, Liberty, sneaking by, and she's snappy, and she is all that woman. She doesn't cook. She don't clean, all that stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So, but that's where it's at now, where it's just in your face that if you're a man and you even say, it even said, I'm the alpha, I'm the alpha, I'm the alpha,
Yeah.
you're just stupid. You're a dummy. You work for Mayor Humdinger. You do his bidding. You don't ask why, and you're an idiot. That's where I think it's gotten to.
But is that what women these days want? Because I don't.
I mean, you tell us, I guess.
Yeah.
No. But
Yeah.
am I not the majority? I mean, or
No, I don't think
I don't want.
I don't
some
think so
dumb,
at all. I think that's the
dummy,
whole point.
Big meathead.
But I think
dude.
that's the big point of this conversation is that's what a lot of these people are saying.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that are pushing this are saying like toxic masculinity, it needs to go away. It's so bad, and that it's what people don't want. But what my point is with this conversation that we're going to have today is that there's traits within that behavior that are necessary for society, for the family unit, for business, for all the things.
For a fire department, right?
100%.
I want that.
Yeah.
I want that boiling over the top masculinity. Who else is going to run into a goddamn fire?
Yeah.
I mean, I want you, like I want my husband, which is you, to be the protector, the guy that's going to be at the door. Someone's breaking in, jumping out of bed. Masculine. I want that, but I also then feel like somehow that comes into play where then you should be a dick. I don't want you to be a dick.
Right. Well, there's always a line, right?
Right. So
Yeah.
I get that males have to play. I think it's hard. And I've said this before, at least to him, with raising a son who now is 13, there's that fine line. I want him to be like a badass man, but also a good gentleman, nice to his wife, caring. I never really thought about it, that raising a son is fucking hard.
Yeah. Well,
People always say, "Oh, raising boys is so much easier." No, I don't know. Like
raising good boys.
I don't know where that comes into play as being a dad compared to a mom. I never really had to think about that with my girls. I just want them to be self-confident and this and that, but I've never really, I think it's just complicated with men.
And a certain level of independence. You want your daughters to have a certain level of independence, and then you want that independence, though, to kind of be an overdrive with your boy. You kind of want him to be able to, if something goes wrong, God damn it, work through it. I just heard a phrase earlier today, when you're going through hell, keep going, right?
Yeah.
Don't just fold up and stay in that hell. Get through it. God damn it, and that's where I think as a society we can have a little bit more grace with our girls, right?
Yes.
We can help them up, pick them up. But with our boys, we kind of want, toughen up, buddy.
I do. I want him to be tough.
And that's where a lot of this comes from, is that there's a lot of women, young women, whoever, that are hearing what you just said there, and they go, well, hold up. Not just the boys need to, tough it out and go through this. Like we do too. So quit trying to say like, it's their responsibility, that they're the most important, that they need to handle this, and we just need to follow.
We need saved, like all the old Disney movies.
Right. And that's where all this kind of comes from. On this Google search, I just looked at a couple of things. Here's some more definitions. It says toxic masculinity, 3 behaviors or beliefs behind the phenomenon. Number 1 is suppressing emotions or making distress. So I would say suppressing emotions. I mean, that's kind of what we as dudes do.
Yeah, or you're expected to.
Yeah, you shouldn't be all crying all the time.
A lot of it you are expected to, and maybe that's why, I mean, I can only speak for myself, you can speak for yourself, but I mean, I definitely do that, but it's just kind of natural, but maybe that's because it was how it was expected, but it's whatever. I'm like, hey, look, emotions don't get the job done.
Yeah.
And I need to get the job done. Like you said, if you're going through hell, like I can't sit there and cry about it. I need to freaking start grinding it out.
Right.
I could cry about it after it's over, and I've gotten through it. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. So, I mean, I think that's one of them. And then number 2, it says maintaining an appearance of hardness.
Yeah.
And it uses the image of a football helmet.
I like that. I like that. Yeah.
And then number 3, it says violence as an indicator of power.
See, it tags so many things into
Right.
this.
It
It just it labels men, and God, it puts us in such a negative light.
The thing is like the strongest dudes I know, like the most effective dudes I know, are 100% capable of violence, but they use it when it's time to be used.
So it's just basically never, just about never.
It's very rare.
Yeah,
right?
right. Unless you probably had to.
Yeah, it's very rare. But in those scenarios, if you're using that violence as an indicator of power to stop whatever's going on,
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
I mean, and this is a phenomenon that you see a lot of like YouTube shorts, and I'm sure you've seen them on Instagram, where it talks to, a hardcore liberal at like a protest, right? And she has all the piercings and the tattoos and all those things, right?
And the colored hair.
And the colored hair. I'm trying to paint the picture here. And she tells who she's being interviewed by what her ideal man would be like, what a man should be. And then he goes, okay, would you date a guy like that, or would you date a guy like this? And then he shows him a picture of a football player. She goes, well, I definitely want to date that guy. Not the guy that she described what a man should be, according to toxic masculinity. So it's like right there, right there. Get off this notion that we don't need men to be men. And what's so wrong with, like, I accidentally fell into it, and I wasn't trying to put women in a box by saying we can help them and give them more grace. But what's wrong with women being women?
Well, 100%. And that was
filling some of those traditional roles.
That was one of the things that I was hoping, to hear from Morgan today. And we can get into that side, the roles. And like you said, the traditional roles, there's traditional roles, but there's also roles that modern families adopt and play. So, if we think of traditional roles, we think of like our grandparents, and it's grandpa out, doing all the manual labor, doing all the work, and grandma in the house, keeping the house, taking care of the kids, cooking, cleaning, whatever, right? Like, I mean, that's just kind of the traditional.
Yeah,
that's
and if she wants to really get out there, she's the local Avon lady, right?
Well, I don't know if Avon existed when grandma was.
Oh, I thought that's where Avon got its go.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. I was just throwing that in there for fun.
But so many things in society have changed where even like I would consider us and you guys as a traditional modern family, a husband, a wife, a couple of kids, 2, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever. What has happened with society is that it's required different things of us. So now everybody has to have a job.
Yep, dual incomes.
Yep,
kind of a must.
Otherwise, you can't. You just flat out can't afford to live.
Right.
And so then that has brought in other types of behaviors and expectations because now, previously it was the male out with the job and the female at home. Now the female's working and the male's working, and they're shared responsibilities at home because it shouldn't all be on one person.
Yep.
So that's what has happened. You look at things like cooking and cleaning, and I'll just speak about our house. Traditionally, that was the woman's responsibility, or, and we use the word responsibility, but really for a lot of them, it's probably what they wanted to do.
Yeah, provide.
Right.
Be providers.
Yeah.
Caretakers. Take care of their freaking family, their man and their kids.
Yeah, so we call it responsibility, but it's not like you're expected to do this. It's actually something that you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But then today, like in your household, you talk about your wife is such a great cook and she does all these kinds of things.
Yep.
In our household, Morgan's good at that when she wants to do it, but doesn't really enjoy doing it. Okay. I do a lot of the cooking, so a lot of those roles, have kind of morphed, in a modern family.
Yeah, they really have.
So when people talk about, this toxic shit that, the guy's doing this, he's doing that, and he's expecting her to do this and blah, blah, blah. Like some of that probably happens here and there.
Yeah.
But this is not the majority of the people. The common folk, who we are, who we talk about, who we interact with, the silent majority, we're all out here doing everything that needs to be done to keep the family moving forward.
Right. And it's a team effort.
Right.
And I mean, that's a huge thing that we don't talk about. It's actually we attack it, and that's just the modern day family. You're so cool if you're a bachelor and you're not tied down and all this shit. But if you really want to be happy and you really want to get ahead, get married, have kids, have a good life.
And honestly, as you're talking, Ben, I feel that if we're going to go there, but we should probably back up if there's anything that I can add, because I feel like we've had it all at our house. We've been together for years and years. Our oldest is 22. We've been in different businesses. We've had different jobs. When we were young and we had a child, our very first house, like I'm a licensed hairstylist. I did hair. We had different things. We both worked.
Yeah.
Then we transitioned we started moving. He had a different corporate job. I stayed at home. So like roles did change. I was at that point home cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids.
Doing what needed to be done.
Exactly. But to me, that felt like my job. And again, like to your point, Ben, I wanted to do that and I was able to do that. But he worked outside the home. Then we shift where it's like, now we're running this business. I also have a different business that, I have grown that produces an income. I mean, there's just so many different things. So it ebbs and flows. So I feel like we've had it all.
Like you guys are a team or something?
Yes, but it does create. It
challenges the norm.
Yes, and it's challenging at the moment. So at the moment when the kids were young and we both worked, he had to pick up things that he probably didn't want to do. Same with me, or that wasn't traditional.
Yeah.
But then when he was working outside the home, I picked up things like I don't enjoy cooking. I had to meal plan. I was fully capable of cooking meals for everybody. It's something I didn't love to do, but you do for the family.
Right.
Now we have a little bit more flexibility. He enjoys to cook.
Yeah.
I can step back and be like sous chef and help, but I don't have to execute that, but I still do a lot of other things and I help with the business. You know what I mean? Like it flows.
Well, and he obviously really enjoys it. I just saw that smoker that you were talking about. Holy, if you're going to invest something like that and drive 3 states away and you let him do it, you're just like, okay, Ben, go.
Yeah, because he enjoys it. So I feel that, I don't know, there's just, there's boxes we can put people in. And
it's all being amped up right now. And I think it's being amped up a little bit. It sounds like it's more amped up than what it usually is. Like it's never as good as it really is.
Yeah.
It's never as bad as it is.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the internet and social media has a lot to do with that, but it also puts more pressure on it, I believe, and is challenging these norms and these traditional modern families or whatever, however you want to call it. And an incident that comes to mind just blew up a few months ago. A former NBA player who got married at an early age and was just fine with his wife. It was one of those kind of a success story as far as NBA marriages go.
Right, you're like, ooh,
yeah,
okay, good.
Wow, they stayed together through his playing career and they're still married. Well, okay, he's been out of the league a couple of years. He's not reeling in, that multi-million-dollar contract. They weren't. It sounded like they weren't too frugal with their money. They were pretty spendy.
Spendy, yeah.
Okay, so she was used to a lifestyle. and it wasn't available anymore because he was out of a job. He got old. So she went to OnlyFans, and she was raking it in on
boy.
And then he found out through his buddies, like, hey.
He didn't know
Saw
she was
your
doing
girl.
that?
Yeah. And then he, trying to give her a taste of her own medicine, I don't know, but he grabbed his phone and like went and confronted her on it. And that's the video that really went viral, is him recording on his cell phone. Like, what the hell you think you're doing being on OnlyFans? She's like, well, you ain't got no job. So, I mean, just think of that, like that. At that time, he was the breadwinner and all was good. And then when that bread evaporated and was gone, well, then she took it upon herself, right? And that's an extreme case,
Yeah.
of these norms being challenged and kind of flipped, because now she's the breadwinner, and whether you agree with the way she's doing it or not, she's the one, supporting this lavish lifestyle and this 5 dumb big homes that they have and all that stuff.
That's funny.
Weird.
I mean,
I think
but that's what it opens the door for.
Yeah, right. One of the things you said earlier when Morgan was talking, you said that what we had done throughout our life was challenging the norm. And in my opinion, that's why we have this podcast and why we talk to the people that we talk to, because I don't think it's actually challenging the norm. I think it's challenging the narrative. The norm is what we have been doing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that listen to us have been doing the same thing, just figuring out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Filling in for the role, whatever they need to fill in for.
Right.
In the end, every one of us in a relationship or as an individual has certain responsibilities that you can't deny. And as long as you do those, and then you step up and do the other things that need to be done when they need to be done, that's how things keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. You're just a team. And you remind me of a line out of one of my favorite movies ever, Tombstone. And it was when Doc Holliday was on his deathbed, and Wyatt Earp went to visit him and said, oh, man, I just wish I could settle down and live a normal life. And he goes, shut up, Wyatt. There's no such thing as normal. And you think about it, like, everybody out there has a story, whether you work the 9 to 5, whether you're starting your own farm-focused business, like, it's not normal. When you think of normal, everybody has something wild or crazy going on. But it's like what you said, it's adapting, it's figuring it out, and it's working together. And if that's your goal, is to work together and figure things out, Morgan, I think and you've said this, you want a man that can stand up for what's right, can defend you, and provide for your family.
Absolutely.
And you don't need a He-Man to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So...
It doesn't need to be like that Paw Patrol movie, some big
I'm the
dude
alpha. I'm
and
the alpha. I'm
yeah,
the alpha.
like,
I'm the alpha. Shut up. I don't even like those guys.
I think that's an interesting conversation too, and what I wanted to talk about, some of those words, like that alpha and beta, and that's a big thing amongst animals and dogs, which is probably why that show was depicting that.
But
turkeys,
why are we
100%.
saying that for people?
Well, it's in the end, I mean, people have behaviors that are pretty similar to animals.
We are animals.
Yeah.
Well, very true.
And
but not like rabbits.
like sociology,
Some people.
Some guys are. Sorry.
yeah, somewhere will teach you like the behaviors of humans in groups.
Yeah.
And certainly those things happen. Like eventually someone rises to the top as the leader. And I think that's the problem with all these things, is that these words like the top, alpha, leader.
And that's what you want to be and should be. And if you don't try for that, then you're a loser. But if you are the alpha, well, now you're toxic.
Right. And the way that all those get classified and how people feel about them, I think, is where the problem really is. When we talk about like an alpha and a beta, you immediately think like, okay, the alpha is the boss and is in charge and is the best one and does all the best stuff, and the beta is just there to support them, and and essentially like the beta, the beta doesn't exist if the alpha isn't doing what they're doing. It's just like this mentality that you automatically get into, but that's not true. For someone to take a beta role is an honorable thing. Like, that's something that needs to happen. Like, both of these don't exist without the other.
Sure.
Like, the alpha doesn't exist if the beta isn't there to support the actions of the alpha.
No, that's kind of a military perspective there where, yeah, of course you got the team leader or the commander or whatever. I'm terrible at the ranks, but if you don't have all the grunts, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
And that's honorable to get on board, be part of a team, and do your job.
I think a great example that I have experience in is in the fire service, here with the volunteer department.
All right.
So we get, a crazy 911 call, the house is on fire, whatever, we get there. Someone, our alphas, so to speak, our officers, get there and set up command. They're in charge.
Yeah.
They're telling us
They're wearing
what
that
to
hard
do.
hat, the jacket, the whole 9 yards.
Yep. And they're telling us what needs to be done, where to go, what's priority number 1, what's priority number 2, whatever. And then we're there to work.
Yeah.
We're getting in it. Like you said earlier, we're running into the burning house.
Yeah.
We are dragging the hose. We are doing all this manual labor, and that's great. But in that scenario, we're the betas. We're working for that alpha.
Sure.
In that scenario.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's an interesting take on it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this too, and what does it mean to be a man? And, do you go out and chop wood with an axe, and then with that wood, do you build a house for your family? You're like, what is a man? A man's man. And I'm going to use the word alpha there. A guy that I consider to be a true alpha, and I never even met this guy. This happened a few years ago, and I never would have had this thought if you didn't want to bring this topic up. But Ozzy and Kimber, our two youngest, they were like 2 and 2.5 years old. Like, they were terrible. It was miserable. Ozzy was 3 and Kimber was 2. And we go out to this burger joint. You've probably been there, Sinful Burger.
Sinful, yeah.
Shout out Sinful, home of the Juicy Lucy, Lucy Juicy. I always say that backwards.
Yeah, Juicy Lucy.
It's a cheeseburger with the cheese inside the meat. So
invented in
Minneapolis.
Yes.
Yeah, just outside of Minneapolis, actually St. Paul.
I've been to the place.
In St. Paul, yep.
Yeah, when my brother-in-law lived up there, he took us there.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. Well, there's a banter back and forth. But anyhow.
There is, yep.
We go there, and Ozzy and Kimber are just being terrible. There was one point where Ozzy just stood up in his seat and yelled. Like, he wasn't mad. He wasn't screaming or crying. He just goes, ah! I'm like, what are you doing? They're just embarrassing us the whole time. We're trying to keep our cool and do this and that. And we just, when you're going through hell, keep going. we just kept going, right?
Yeah.
And so the waitress was fantastic. She was like hurrying up our order, trying to get us out of there. And then when we went to check out and get out of everyone's hair, she goes, a gentleman picked up your guys' order, said to keep it up. And I go, well, who is this guy? She goes, oh, he doesn't want to be noticed, and he already took off. Like, that's an alpha, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Just a tip of the cap. Not only did you can bet that he provided for his family, but he provided in such a way that he can go out to eat and reach out and provide for somebody else's. That's an alpha. That's a man.
Yeah.
To me,
Yeah.
And I never would have thought of it or put it in that perspective had I not been thinking about, what we want to talk about today.
Right. What you guys are talking about, alpha, and I think your computer even said omega, whatever, but beta. I guess I was thinking when we were talking about this that you guys would just have, males just have R1. But Ben, you're talking about the role that you're playing at the fire department. You also then have to be flexible and become a beta. Do you think in your daily life you're majority alpha, but then you also play a beta in other roles? Don't you think most people will do that? Or do you think they don't adapt? Are we talking about guys that aren't?
I think I kind of take that as that's, and then you answer it, Ben. It's the huge part of the problem with these labels. Like, you can't just slap a label on Ben. He does too many things. He has too many interests. Everybody does.
Yes.
This
so to me, I feel like
that we talk about, you can't.
Don't we all shift?
I mean,
daily. So why are we just saying one thing?
I think the majority of guys that I know and that I interact with do have the ability and the wherewithal and the consciousness to understand that this is when I need to play this role and this is when I need to play this role. Yeah. And it's not like it's an act or anything. It's that, yes, this is who I am, but I understand for this scenario to be the most productive, This is how I need to behave. This is the role that I need to take.
Do you think there's a situation in our life or that you can think of that you should have been more alpha or you should be more beta? If we're using those terms?
I'm sure. I mean, obviously you're not going to get it right 100% of the time. So I'm sure there is scenarios.
So there's times that you think that you should step up more or, oh, I should have stepped back more. I mean, same with you, Andy?
Well, of course. I mean, even right now, I'm sure there's hundreds of things that I'm trying to be too much of the alpha, like too much control, and I need to give it up. I can tell you that. And on the business side of things, I need to get more people involved, give more people more responsibility, and I'm like, and I don't even wave a big stick. It's just, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I still got that mentality, like, if I want it done right, I better do it all.
But don't you think
then I cut myself thin. I'm not getting around to it.
Yeah.
But don't you think that also then goes with hand in hand with growth? I mean, every day we're getting older and you're recognizing more things and you're growing as a human.
So it goes back to that label, and that's too much of a blanket.
Yeah,
and this goes into another topic where it's kind of a political thing, where if we can just put all men in here and say all men are bad, now we got our argument. Now we have men arguing with women, and feminine men, femboys arguing with regular boy, whatever, and when we can do that over all these different things, I feel that there's these entities, these forces behind the scenes that just thrive off that. They just thrive off of kicking the hornet's nest. And there's nothing to kick here for the most part. It's not toxic to be a man. In fact, it's critical for the survival of our freaking species, period. That's all there is to it. And I'll die on that hill. You know what I mean? I think most women would agree.
I think, we're kind of dancing around a little bit, but the more I look into this and I look at this term toxic masculinity, do I think that toxic masculinity exists? Sure.
Yeah.
I think that there's certain dudes that probably take it too far. I just hate that they use those words in it. Like call them what they are.
That dude's a prick.
But narcissist, whatever. Like narcissism or whatever it is, call them that.
Shallow, ignorant, stupid.
Yeah, don't grab the term masculinity.
Yeah, because I like the term masculinity. Yeah. You're making it sound bad.
Yeah, don't try to demonize that term because masculinity is not a bad thing.
Not at all.
Masculinity is on par with, is femininity a word? I don't know. You never hear it.
I don't know. It sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, like, basically...
That would never be toxic, though. You'd never pair those two words.
Right, but basically, the point is that you have this definition of how a man behaves, and then you have this definition or explanation of how a woman behaves. They're on par with each other. Like, both of them are necessary. It's fine. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Like, personally, there's a difference between the two. I feel like, I and most of the guys that I associate with, we're masculine men. That doesn't mean we're assholes. It doesn't mean we hate people. It doesn't mean we try to fight all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to be with a feminine woman. That's just what attracts me. Yeah. Like, that's how I want to be. And that's how the majority of folks are. So why are we trying to call it something bad? Now, when someone takes it too far, as I said earlier, and they start really being an asshole, and they are only displaying the most extreme traits of that behavior, I guess that's what toxic masculinity is.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's better to be called narcissist.
And it's not, they try to play it like it's this big crazy thing that's happening all over the place all the time.
Right.
It's not.
Exactly.
No.
It's not.
And there's also, it's part of people growing up. Like I always like to say, there's a time and a place for it. It's college. When you're all amped up with your boys and you're on creatine and you're lifting weights, but you get over that. You get past that. And also it's part of like kind of sowing your wild oats or what the hell ever. But you got to go through that process and get caught being a dick, having toxic masculinity, and then taking a step back and like, oh shit, that wasn't cool.
Right.
So I think it's all part of a process. And to your point, we attach these labels to it, and I don't think they need to be there, and I think they're misleading, and I think it's because a very, very small number of people profit in a way, or get satisfaction out of creating this division that really, really isn't there.
For sure. So I've got a couple of questions for Morgan that I want to ask about this particular topic. But before we do that, let's chat a little bit about the most.
Oh, you want to talk about masculinity?
The most masculine.
He's stretching again for this one.
The most masculine product around.
Oh, yeah.
No, just kidding. But these Watson gloves that we have. So again, this kind of plays well into this because
Sure, that does.
these, like this particular leather glove, the Duke that we have on the Farm Focus website that you can go there and purchase.
The name alone.
I know.
Duke.
I
Yeah.
mean, you couldn't. Come on. What would be a better name?
Yeah. I mean, do you, Morgan, use these gloves?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so is this just a masculine product?
No,
it's not. This is a product
It's a leather
to get
glove.
the job done.
Yes,
and that's the
exactly.
point.
Yeah.
And everybody has a role to get the job done. This coming up weekend, we're going to be planting our garden.
Yay.
We're
On
gonna-
Mother's Day. I want to do it on Mother's Day.
Fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're going to be using these gloves. We're going to be running the rototiller. We're going to be digging in the dirt. We're going to
Sure.
be doing all the things.
Yep.
So this is a really good tool for everybody across the spectrum.
Yep.
This particular glove here that we have, this yellow leather deerskin, made in Canada, imported here to us. We had to get a U.S. Fish and Wildlife license to get these.
Which cracks me up. It's like, what? Why? But okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
So the government apparently trusts us
Okay,
enough
government.
to bring these in.
Thank you.
What a kind government.
Yeah.
We've got
They smell so good.
Oh yeah, we've got a really good price on the farmfocus.com website. And as we talked about at the beginning of this episode, if you use the code CommonFolk, you're gonna get 20% off these dang things.
Oh,
Nice.
shoot. Okay.
So
yeah.
I would go in there, get them while they're hot. Just a solid product. I've had gloves my whole life, and we said a long time ago that we just can't find a good work glove. And these guys came along, and we tested them for 6-8 months, and we're like, let's go.
I actually think we should bring your real gloves in here because those that are not watching YouTube, we have these nice new ones sitting here on the table. His are so worn in already. You were just using them yesterday, working on the tractor with Andy. You probably had yours on there. But it's just kind of funny how, we should probably put your dirty ones up here,
Yeah,
too.
we'll bring them in when we retire.
Because
them, I
they
guess.
look
Have
too
some
nice.
character on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I used mine building barbed wire fence, and they passed the test for weekend one. I can't give them
Okay.
a full review.
You didn't
'cause-
get poked, through,
No.
the fence.
Nope.
Okay.
They did the thing, and I was working with a lot of old, gnarly, rusty barbed wire.
Okay.
And yeah, they're fantastic. I feel weird talking about gloves like that, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
They're good.
Yeah.
Personally, like a glove has always been something to me that's really important because obviously we work with our hands and we have to do specific things with them. And when you have a shit glove that doesn't fit right,
It's terrible.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like
It is.
you just
It
end up taking it off and just screwing up your hands and then having to wash them for an hour when you get home.
We don't want to throw shade or whatever, any other brands under the bus, but I took a couple of pictures of the Watson gloves over the weekend building fence. I got to show you this picture. You know how areas in a house or whatever just end up being like a collection
Yes.
center? You know,
Yeah.
dirty socks or whatever go in that corner. Our side-by-side, a Kawasaki Mule, has that box on the back, perfect for fixing fence. There's just this pile, I kid you not,
Of
of
stuff.
old gloves that are all ripped up. I bet there's about 4 different pairs of just ripped up gloves. I was talking about
Really?
last year.
Oh, that's
there's a whole
funny.
reason why I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just the proof right there, all these ripped up leather gloves that have collected over the past couple of years in the corner of that box.
If people are listening that actually don't use gloves, they're probably literally thinking we're embellishing this. It's not. That is not true.
No.
It's
You
legitimate. If
you get what you
actually,
pay for.
yeah, you actually need a
definitely
glove
do, yeah.
that works. We've had so many.
So
I
as-
do want to see that picture though, Andy.
As we've talked about on the podcast, we are not quick to partner with anybody.
No.
And this particular product is a very nice product. It's something that I would be proud to give as a gift to anybody that I know that I could stand behind, that I know that they would enjoy it. So just a little shout out to Watson Gloves. If you go to farmfocused, FOCUSED.com, you will find these gloves.
Wait, whose hand is that?
That's just some stock images we got on.
Oh, okay. We got to get Andy's hand on there.
So they're there, they're ready, they're available. Also, kind of a cool thing, we just got this farm-focused brand, and I'll show you that, like a metal burning, you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Brand.
Yeah, regular branding.
Yep,
Branding
and,
iron.
Yep, branding iron. And all these gloves will be branded with the
I'm going to brand his
farm-focused
arm
logo,
too
so.
next.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to get it on his muscle.
I always thought if I was going to get some ink done, that's what I'd do.
No,
Get
I'm
our
just going to
family
brand
cattle
him.
brand.
Wasn't that on the movie, the show? You know.
No, don't know.
The movie, the show, a football show?
The Montana. I can't.
Program. Oh, Brokeback Mountain?
No. Oh my gosh. You know.
Talk about toxic masculinity. Jesus.
Yeah.
Guys, the show that's like everyone talks about.
Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. I couldn't. Sorry. Don't they brand people? I'm going to brand
don't
Ben.
know.
Yeah, they
Farm
do
Focus.
once you're part of the thing. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right.
I'm actually not going to.
Try
You can
it.
Scream.
See what happens. So anyway, back to the conversation.
Yeah,
so
what were we talking
What
about?
I wanted to ask you was,
Oh, yeah.
when you talk about like alpha and beta and the roles in the household, like how do you see those roles, and do you have a problem with those labels, and who is what, or who's supposed to do what?
I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with that.
Well, you're
I
getting at
don't,
like
personally.
being called a homemaker or a stay-at-home mom is almost like a slant, you know?
Oh,
It's
and
like
I
a
wear
dig.
that honestly with a badge, which is funny. Joel and I were
Congratulations, yeah.
just talking about this on the way to school today because he had a choir concert and all of his buddies, I'm walking in, they're like, "Oh, hi, Joel's mom." I'm Joel's mom. And he literally looked at me and goes, "Does that bother you?" And I said, "Not for a second." He said, "One of my friends calls you Morgan." And I go, "That's fine. I will be Joel's mom." I was Elise's mom, Haley's mom.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to learn my name, that's fine. I don't need to be called Mrs.
Yeah.
If some people want to use that as like a respect or Miss Morgan, whatever, I don't care. We're not in the South. I know that's like was a big thing in Texas and
Sure.
you know, all the stuff. But so no to the roles. I guess I don't really.
I mean,
That doesn't
what my
bother
question
me
is
at
like,
all.
do you feel slighted if someone says, you know, hey, Ben is the head of the household. Ben is in charge.
Absolutely not. No, I don't. I don't personally.
And
no.
and the fact is that again, we play all these different roles. So someone saying that
Yeah.
isn't 100% correct.
Yeah.
But do you feel like you are, you know, second fiddle, that you're in second place, that you
No.
yeah.
I personally do not. Now, some people might. I mean, there's
Sure.
got to be women that feel that they want to be first.
More
And-
than Susie Homemaker.
exactly.
you know.
But that has never been something that makes me tick or that I feel like I need to be above you. But again, I feel like we're a pretty good team in that. So no, to answer that question.
Yeah, and even like it's not even like you said, excuse me, feeling above me or me above you or whatever. Like we've just created this environment of, you know, kind of that equality. Like
Yeah.
each person's you know, thoughts and input is as important as the other.
Right. Right. And I guess with my relationship, it's not really equality at all. Ashley does everything. I lift heavy things. That's
Okay.
But that's a true mom. You do everything, right?
Yeah.
You cook, you clean, you wash our clothes, discipline the kids. I actually help them get in trouble. You know, me and Ozzy will go off and, you know,
So you're the man that's sitting on the couch with the beer laughing.
I guess.
Okay.
Well, sometimes. No, I
I was going to say with the big gut, but you're
You
little.
know, you know that's not true.
No, but yeah, I would say the same thing with you guys. You
Yeah.
know, we embrace our roles. We don't take them as a what would you say a dig or whatever.
Yeah,
You know, we're not offended.
Right. The thing is that people, when you sit there and you recognize like what you are actually good and effective at, and then you look at, okay, your partner and what are they good and effective at, then you let that person do that, and that person lets you do this, or whatever. You just do what you're most effective and good at.
Isn't that how like good businesses run?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like
Ooh.
that's what we're getting at. Is like this is not that complicated.
Yeah, it really shouldn't be.
I mean, when you know, like, you know, that if I'm better at laying down the law, and for some reason the kids feel more assertiveness from me, then that's what I need to do when it's necessary. And if you're better at being more gentle and understanding, then that's what needs to be done when that's necessary.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And it also sets up a system, right? And everything runs on systems. I don't care what it is, a marriage, a business, whatever. And so the first wave of resistance, we'll say, from the kids is mom's, you know, being nice and saying you should think about doing that. Okay, now mom's telling you, stop doing what you're doing, fold your clothes. And then when dad enters the room because you've pushed mom off, now we know, okay, shut up, stop pestering your sister, fold these clothes. You know what I mean?
I'm going to call dad, or
Yeah.
I'm picking up that phone right now.
You want toxic masculinity, I'll show you.
Well, and in that scenario, you know, it's something that it's like, not only then do you come in and shut it down and get stuff on track, but you also kind of like rewind with them and be like, why did this even have to get to this point?
Yeah, right.
Why didn't you listen when she told you the first time?
You need to listen to mom and respect her.
Right.
You know?
There you go. Yeah, it's more of a reinforcement thing, because that's also something that's attacked in all these psychology books and stuff. And it's another reason that pours into this toxic masculinity story, in that when mom would say something as toxic as, wait till your father gets home. Like, that was just supposed to be so detrimental to kids. Our generation growing up, that's why we have this notion that men are evil and toxic and this and that, is because of words that, like you said, like, wait till dad gets home and hears this. And once again, it's like, shut up. Shut up.
Yeah,
you know,
enough.
I love my dad. I love my mom. You know, I'm very fortunate that I was raised the way I was. But I don't believe that hurt me at all.
So who are we going to tick off that if someone's listening to this?
Oh, not very many of people
Not many of our
Yeah,
audience, but
that's the thing,
what's the side that's going to be pissed? That side is going to be, I am a woman.
I got it.
I can do what a man does.
Paid protesters, that group that's getting kicked off of campuses right now. That little gravy train's running out. You know, they started up in the Pacific Northwest and they went down south. Whoa, did they catch a curveball down there? And now it's like, well, what do we do now? Well, let's get mad at the Common Folk podcast.
Okay.
So I would welcome that. Come on, guys.
I'm just
Bring it
wondering
on.
what is the other side that is going to be,
Well, that's the
that
type of
doesn't
people.
really agree.
I think it's the folks who probably don't
Think for themselves?
Well, no, that don't believe. Well, that's probably one of them for sure.
Yeah.
But that don't believe that there is more benefit in that male and female role household and how that family, you know, gets raised.
Okay.
I think it would probably be those folks, you know, and they'll hear what we're saying and they'll be like, well, all that stuff that you're saying that guy can do, a woman can do. And I get it.
I'm not saying she can.
Yeah, I get it. Like, a lot of them can. But there is something different. I mean, there's just something different. The males and females are different. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
100%.
So there is 100% things that each one is more effective at.
Right.
And neither one is less important than the other.
Of course.
Both are equally important in those roles, in those responsibilities.
I kind of think you're more effective at taking the trash out, which you don't do.
Oh, boy. There we go.
You seem to do a good job of it, though.
Gosh, that's the one that annoys me. Sorry.
Yeah, you know, it's hard.
Doesn't matter.
You know?
But you know what I mean?
You guys are getting it done, though, so I
I'm
like
just
that.
trying to think of who could listen to this and what would they bring that we're not,
When I say
that we're missing, if we're missing anything.
when I say the people that don't think for themselves,
Yeah.
I'm talking
Who
about
is
the
that?
people that pick up on a term like toxic masculinity and then just, oh, wow, here's a couple articles in the New York Times. Oh, there's a couple of videos. Bill Maher's been barking about it for years. whatever, and they just take that on as that's gospel, that's truth. I'm just going to buy into that. I'm not going to ask questions. Thank God, I know now that men are evil.
And I think a lot of people use these kinds of things as like a way out, like an excuse for something that's already wrong in their life, and then they're like, oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah, the toxic masculinity, that's the reason why.
So they're just
I'm so
fishing
oppressed.
for something.
There's an easy answer for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why am I such a failure? It's because mom said, wait till your father gets home. And then when dad got home, he yelled at me.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's why.
It's things
not
like
my
that,
fault. It's not my fault.
Or that, that asshole at work that just like, that freaking guy, he's toxic. Like, he just cares about himself. He's mean. He
didn't deserve that promotion.
Hungry. Yeah.
I should have got that.
Yeah, like in some of those scenarios, 100%, there are people like that.
Sure.
And that's true. Like, you need to recognize that, but you need to figure out how to work around it and work with it. Like, it doesn't just shut you down.
So we've already been flagged. We played a little bit of that one song by Nerd.
So we're going to try to get flagged again?
Yeah, so I figure I'm not even going to try to monetize this one on YouTube. We'll just take it down. But what you're getting at, I felt was articulated very well by one of my favorite comedians out there.
Yeah. Who is that?
Ryan Long. So to leave everybody with a little funny joke here.
Wait, is he that young guy that we've talked about before?
I don't know.
No,
I don't think
was that Reef.
No, yeah, Matt Rife.
Matt Rife.
This is
Rife.
Ryan Long, and he has a partner, and he works so well in sarcasm. Another kind of a lost art, where it takes next level. Like, oh, you got to get on the same plane as this guy. You know, you can't just take a term like woke and be like, oh, okay. You got to dig into it a little bit. So I thought maybe I could play this little clip off of YouTube Shorts, and then we could close it out.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's give everyone a little laugh here. The title of this is When People Don't Understand Averages.
Okay.
Millions of people around the globe suffer from not being able to understand the concept of average. If you say on average men are stronger than women, they will note that they know a woman that is stronger than a man. An Asian who's terrible at math. A black man who can't dance. A pit bull who's amazing with children. An Indian man who hates seeing bobs. A white dad who hates saying let's rock and roll. A chick who's never emotional. An influencer who's never posted another day at the office. An actor with good opinions. A Jewish woman who's never sent food back. Even a time when Stephen Colbert was right about something. Adding up the total of a group and dividing it by the number of people is a concept many were born unable to understand. And have no choice but to point out the exceptions. It's a condition that can't be fixed, and all we can do is make them comfortable. Which is why we started KUA, a charity for average unable humans at patreon.com/theboyscast. When you donate $5 a month, on average, some of it gets to them. Which means sometimes none of it will, and there's no need to point that out. Millions of people
Pretty
around
good. Pretty good.
That's so good.
Yeah, he's brilliant. He's pretty funny. So you when you were talking about, earlier, I'm like, man, that just reminds me of that.
Yeah.
That little short they cut.
So I think where I'll leave it is, to all the folks listening, I'm sure this resonates with you. The masculine guys out there that are listening that do the work every day, that care about the people that are around you, and that keep moving forward. We know who you are. Yep. That's who we are. And the women who are doing the same, in their own role.
Carrying the same amount of weight, metaphorically.
Yep.
But different.
Not just
weight,
supporting that male, but supporting their family and behaving and doing the work that they need to do to keep all those things moving forward. That's who we are as well.
Yep.
This really isn't that hard. This toxic masculinity thing, again, it's out there. There's a small snippet of individuals who are real assholes and full of themselves and just can't get enough of it.
Right.
That does happen. We all experience it. But the majority of it, it's not the case. The common folk,
there we go.
We're just freaking doing work, man. We're being dudes.
I feel like we need a
being
toast
ladies
right now. I feel like we need a toast.
All right, let's do it.
I
got me a little blue yummy here.
Yep, blue yummy.
Yummy.
To toxic masculinity.
Right?
Cheers.
Here we go. Not too bad.
Good deal.
All right. Anything else?
We good.
Later.
All right.
Peace.
We'll see you.